Great. Well, hi, I'm Miranda, and I'm going to be talking to you all today about how we can use ritual to create stability and support in changing environments to introduce the concept of home as a mobile state and how this would benefit rural activists. I'm going to start off my presentation with a quote that really captures what ritual is all about. I think of rituals as ways of remembering because ultimately the state we aspire to access isn't something new. It is not something foreign. It's not taking ourselves somewhere we've never been. It's returning to. So one of the only consistencies about rural activism and spending large amounts of time on the road is that change is constant. And when we are always surrounded by change, it becomes increasingly difficult to maintain personal balance and stability, especially when work becomes entangled into a transitional lifestyle. Because of these unique qualities of rural activism, I found that there was an opportunity for deeper exploration into the relationship between living on the road and how this affects activists and their personal well-being. This relationship prompted me to focus on the activists themselves rather than on the activism they perform. Rural activism is really unique because of the widespread dispersal of the community. The lack in proximity for all involved opens up new opportunities and implications for their work. And looking to disperse communities as precedent, we can see how this way of life has far preceded us. From here, I'd like to present the concepts of stagnant and transitional environments. We typically associate home with a central living space, one that is familiar, secure, and stable. Life on the road can be described as a moving living space, what we typically think of as away or travel, one that is often new, unexpected, and always changing. And can an environment feel both central and moving at once? Life on the road can essentially be described in three states: home, travel, and away. This is a dynamic and cyclical relationship with activists transitioning between states quite often. Constant transition increases the difficulty to maintain balance, and when balance is lacking, it can be increasingly difficult to perform our best work. So why ritual? What does this have to do with anything? Well, rituals can bring us closer to home by inviting the same feelings that are invoked when we are in those meaningful central living spaces. When ritual is present, we can achieve these feelings of stability, support, and security within ourselves, regardless of the environment that we are in. A ritual practice can be broken down into 5 main components: repetition, intention, presence, awareness, and ultimately an achievement of balance. Here I present the solution: learning to see ritual as a coming home and using vessels as a vehicle to do so. What are vessels? In this context, vessels are used as simple objects to connect people in place. They have the ability to hold things and to be held. I present a pair of vessels meant for multiple users, the outer with the ability to hold the inner to further the idea of connection and being part of a bigger whole. They're simple in form so the users can determine their meaning and function. Through their application of ritual, they can serve as a cognitive connection in physical space to provoke an emotional response. To understand their significance, it is important to look back to their place in human history. Vessels of some sort have been around for more than 15,000 years, and this demonstrates a perpetual need for vessels. They are traditionally ceramic and in certain instances carry specific significance, which illuminates the unique aspect of pottery as being both an art and a necessity. And vessels can prompt us to ask, what do we transport, hold, and share? These vessels are created through a hand-built process out of earthenware clay. There's an outer wool membrane that surrounds the vessel, adding a layer of protection and warmth. Because of a hand process and the use of natural materials, the forms become natural, organic, and innately unique. So deciding the use of our vessel. With all this being said, how can we do this? It starts with self-reflection. And how do we define home? When we are away, what do we miss? What people, artifacts, memories, places do we associate with home? And ultimately, how can we translate these ideas into a space that we do not consider home? After asking these questions, we can begin to identify what we are missing and let our answer guide us in creating the rituals for the use of our vessels. Some possible examples include gifting, collecting, reminding, holding, sharing. Relating back to the ritual diagram that I presented earlier, these vessels become ritual through our daily interactions, specific intentions, intentional engagement, awareness of how we feel in different spaces, and a reminder to turn inward. I'm now going to present some case studies of how some users choose to use their vessels. Up first is John. He's 35, a rural activist, and currently lives out of his car with no house of his own. John's parents live in his hometown in Montana, where he only returns twice a year. He considers their house to be home and is nostalgic and would like to feel closer, and his parents wish they weren't so separated from his life in rural Utah. While on the road, John keeps his vessel in the front cup holder of his car and collects things that remind him of home. When he visits, he places these items into his parents' vessel, and they love to receive pieces from John's life in rural Utah and treat their vessel as a time capsule of their son's life away from them. This becomes a ritual of collecting and gifting. Next up are Nina and Alex. Nina travels a lot for work, doing field research, and Alex owns a local restaurant and stays relatively local. They are partners who are really good at communicating, but often reliant on their phones. Nina is often without service for work, and they want to have some physical reminders of each other outside of the communication of phones. They each keep their vessels in their work environments. Nina's is in her side pocket of her backpack, and Alex is in the kitchen of her restaurant. They use their vessels to facilitate thoughtful written communication by writing each other little notes and keeping them in their vessels to come back to. This becomes a ritual of reflecting and communicating. For the last example, Josie and Liz are niece and aunt. Liz is a farm owner in southern Utah, and Josie loves the farm but lives far away. She wants to feel like she's on the farm, and Aunt Liz wants to help her feel closer. Liz connects to Josie by collecting seeds from her garden and storing them in her vessel to give to her. Josie connects to Aunt Liz in the farm by growing the seedlings in her vessel. This becomes a ritual of growing and sharing. In summary, often being away from home and on the road can bring up feelings of disconnection and imbalance, which only adds to the stress of rural activists. We can use these vessels to prompt reflection and facilitate connection and ritual. Through engagement between multiple users, we are creating a support system that goes beyond proximity. When we begin to associate these vessels as part of a bigger whole, we can begin to return home even when we're far from it. And I just want to thank you guys for the incredible work you do, and it was a pleasure getting to present to you today.